electrical engineer was arrested from Sa Duch, and he asked me about the progress of his confession. And so that is the type of the daily operation. And on the principle of the enemy who was arrested and would not be released, I believed both Nat and I, and even if my superior, understood this principle clearly, and nobody dared to violate that principle. Separately, at the time, there was one violation of the principles committed by Nat. He arrested combatants from his former units unilaterally, and that was a violation of the principle. And on that matter, I would like the President, whether you want me to report on this particular point, or I can speak on this particular point at a later stage. Mr. President, now we are dealing with the operation, with only the implementation of the policy, and we will deal later with the operations of the S21. So we only focus now on the major grounds for the implementation of the policy at S21. Another point that we want to raise, the Chamber doesn't have that official document, but at the request of the co-investigating charges to France, but there was no reply officially. You sent a letter through a victim of M13, that is Mr. Francois Bizot, to the French embassy, and the content of the letter is the implementation of the party's policy in smashing the 7 traitors during the Lunar regime and other people who did not join the revolution. So the question is, can you recall the content of the letter that was sent through Francois Bizot to the French embassy? And the second question is whether the policy of smashing subsequently after the 17th April 75 is consistent with the content of the letter that was sent from M13 to the French embassy. The accused. Mr. President, I would like to report as the following. 1. About the political program of the Cambodia Reconciliation Front. The policy of this National Reconciliation Front is an open document, internally and externally, that is inside the country and overseas. So it was about to strive to collect the forces without thinking of any political tendencies before the coup on the 18th of March 1970. And there was one section describing about self-independence, self-reliance, that is the Communist Party of Cambodia. The Cambodia Revolution did not rely on the Vietnamese Communist Party. But at that time, we did not even dare to mention that name. The word they used was self-independence stance, self-reliance stance. So these stances were towards the Vietnamese Communist Party. That is, we did not want their leadership. So to sum up, the document of this National Reconciliation Front is an open document, both overseas and domestic, and it did not talk about the purchase or the smash. It only talks about collecting the forces. So it is open and extensive. So it is more extensive than the strategic planning of collecting forces, which I learned through my training at a later stage. If we look at the date, I think it was from the 23rd of March, then the Cambodia National Reconciliation Front was announced to be formed. It was established by some intellectuals, also some of those who were from Beijing. So it was not a pure document on the Communist Party of Cambodia. After the a little bit after the 23rd of March, that document was released, and the document on the 7 super traitors, I do not recall many of them. I only recall the name Sisawat Serimata, Lunnon, for instance. I don't recall the rest. It was an announcement during the time of the final attack. So the phase of the final attack started the 1st of January 1975. Therefore, that announcement was towards the 17th April 1975. So the announcement of these 7 traitors and the date of the document was different. And if you compare these 2 documents, it was different. And the writing was not based on the previous document. The writing did not base on the political program of the National Reconciliation Front in order to analyze and to conclude the policy of the Communist Party of Cambodia. This is my response to you, Mr. President.
The President, do you still remember that during the previous hearings there were a debate regarding the content in the testimony of Mr. Francois Bizot concerning the document you sent through him to the French embassy, and the embassy asked him to translate that document. Do you know what is the document about? Response: it was not my personal letter. It was the document of the National United Front of Cambodia. It was the policy of the National United Front of Cambodia, and that document is a public document to support the collections of forces to support the resistance against the Americans. So it was not my personal letter. It's the document of the National United Front of Cambodia and some propaganda photos, including Hunim Huyun's picture, but there was no picture of Brother Ham or Khieu Samphan, so far as I recall. The President. Judges of the trial chamber, would you wish to put questions to the accused concerning the facts at issue? So the floor is yours, if you would wish to do so. The President, Judge Lavenge, you take the floor.
Tout d'abord,
The interpreter is sorry, but she cannot hear George Laverne.
Est-ce que ça fonctionne?
It is all right now, the interpreter says.
M'entend?
Yes, the English booth can hear George Laverne. George Laverne, I was saying that this morning much has been said about the document presented as a decision or directive of the Kampuchea Communist Party on the 30th of March 1976. You mentioned this document this morning. I indicate that this document exists in the 3 official versions. You started providing the ERN references. This is document 00003136 to 3142. The English version is 00182809 to 00182814. For the French version, the numbers are 00224363 to 00224367. Judge Laverne continues. I have a number of questions. I do not know whether it would be appropriate to take a break now, or would you wish me, Mr. President, to continue to put questions?
The President, you may proceed with questionings, and we will have a break after a few questions.
Alors,
Judge Laverne, I would like us, before we deal with questions concerning the implementation of the Communist Party or Kampuchea, I would like us to talk about the overall ideological context. First, for this purpose, I would like us to refer to the Constitution of Democratic Kampuchea. This is a document that is in the case file, but only in 2 versions. For the Khmer version, the ERN is 0008981 to 0008982. For the English, the ERN is 00184833 to 00184839. So there is no French version in the case file. However, there is a book called Les Constitutions du Cambodge, 1953 to 1993, texts that were gathered and presented by Raoul Marc Jenard. That is a translation of the Constitution, is provided in pages 65 to 72 of the book I have just referred to. So if there is no objection from the parties, I suggest that they be provided with a French version of this document.
The floor is yours, says the President to the co-prosecutor.
Mr. President, Your Honour, we have a French version which we understand to be in the case file, and we can give the ERN number to Judge Laverne. The reference in French is S000-12644 to 12659. And this is introductory submission document Annex C, document 9.2.
The co-prosecutor, could you please repeat the annex number because the interpreter could not follow? You should please repeat. Thanks.
Certainly, Your Honour. It is introductory submission, Annex C, document 9.2. And I should state for the record that this document is not a translation. It is an original document created contemporaneously by Democratic Kampuchea government.
Voilà, merci, Monsieur le Procureur.
Judge Lavergne, thank you, Mr. Prosecutor. This will make things indeed easier. So, you told us that you had indeed given political training sessions within S21. So, is there any document, does this document have anything to do about your training programs? Do you know this document?
The accused. I would like to report to you concerning the training at S21. The annual training conducted based on the lessons we learned at the general staff. And what we were presented and taught, then after we left the session, then we would be given the presentation text so that we could train our subordinates. So the lessons we learned were changed each year. And the lesson I taught or trained our people in the unit also changed respectively. Regarding the Constitution document, frankly, I had never taught them using that document because this document is more a barrier to conceal the dictatorship in the strategic line of the party. I did not use or introduce in my training this kind of barrier. I have been away long ago from that document that I cannot refer to any particular article. Maybe article chapter 15 or something which mentions about religion, and I will say why it is a barrier. Article 15, chapter 13, I think I stand to be corrected. In that article, it says every Cambodian has the right to believe in any religion or not to believe in any religion. But people have to really reactionary religions are to be absolutely forbidden. So people who follow religions are also can exercise their right, and while people who don't want to believe in any religion can also exercise their right according to the Constitution. That's why this kind of document is considered as the barrier in our training. It's not really the foundation for training people to understand or to build the class stance or class line. So once again, I only taught my subordinates based on what I had been taught during the annual training I obtained from my superior.
Judge Lavergne, so if I understand correctly what you're saying, this document was supposed to be broadcast publicly, but it was also to be used to hide the true political line of the Communist Party of Democratic Kampuchea. Or did I misunderstand?
Response. Your Honors, I would like to clarify that what you have understood concerning what I have just reported is correct. The Constitution of the Democratic Kampuchea is a barrier in French is called a facade to shield, to conceal the criminal acts of their own. So that's my clarification in response to your last question.
Judge Lavergne, so we are dealing with a period that was qualified as revolutionary. We are following an ideology that wishes to create a certain kind of society. I'm going to read what is in the preamble of the Constitution, and you will tell me if this corresponds to the objectives of the revolution. So it is the preamble, and it is the penultimate paragraph. Whereas the entire Kampuchean people and the entire Kampuchean Revolutionary Army desire an independent, unified, peaceful, neutral, non-aligned, sovereign Kampuchea enjoying territorial integrity, a national society informed by genuine happiness, equality, justice, and democracy, without rich or poor, and without exploiters or exploited, a society in which all live harmoniously in great national solidarity and join forces to do manual labor together and increase production for the construction and defense of the country. So, what corresponds, according to you, to true ideological principles, and what corresponds, according to you, to merely a facade?
Response. According to the last phrase, as I can understand, it is a barrier starting when Cambodia builds a peaceful society. if we ask ourselves what is the peace for whom? If you ask this question whether peace is for the interest of whom during the communist regime, sorry, correction, happiness, not peace, from the interpreter. If we ask ourselves whether happiness is for whom, then the communist people in that regime, including me, myself, I would say that the happiness was for the labor class and peasant class. And in that kind of text, the meaning of dictatorship already embedded in that version. That's all my response. The President, the Chamber would like to take a 20-minute break and resume at 11 a.m.
The President, please be seated. The Chamber is now back in session. I would give the floor to Judge Lavange to continue his questioning to the accused. The floor is yours, Judge Lavange.
Judge Lavange, just to provide some clarification, what I am trying to elicit in putting questions to you on the Constitution is whether what appears in this document corresponds to your convictions at the time, whether this was the objective that drove you, and perhaps later we will examine whether this matched what you did. So I read the preamble. I thought that this appeared to be the program for an ideal society. You said it was a facade. But is this something that today comes to you, or were you at that time convinced that it was possible to achieve an ideal society?
The accused, Your Honor, Before I respond correctly to your question, I would like to emphasize on the religion. It's in chapter 15, article 20. The chapter and the article that I described earlier were incorrect. Your Honors, now we talk about the objective of building a society that is idealistic if one can be built. An idealistic society is in a theory called historical materialism. In it, it states the society developed from the slavery society into a capitalist society, a feudalist society. Please, the translator, don't go too fast. In the beginning, it was the collective society. And from the primitive collective society existed the slavery society. So it developed into a slavery society. And from the slavery society, it developed into a feudalist society. And then from the feudalist society, it developed into a capitalist society. And then it became a socialist society. And from the socialist society, it developed into a communist society. We, the persons who studied the theory, believed on this particular matter. And we started to appreciate this theory when I was studying at the elementary level of mathematics class. When I studied at the elementary mathematics class. At that time, the geographic teacher, Mr. Kulang, corrects the interpreter. Mr. Gulang presented that in the socialist society, the product, in relation to the production, is based on a slogan that from an individual's effort, and it returns to that individual based on the outcome. I would like to speak into French to the judge, to your honor. And then I would say the last phrase into French.
To each according to his abilities and from each according to his needs. Or from each according to his abilities and to each according to his needs.
So from one person's ability, and in return it depends on the demand of that individual. This means in the French,
from each according to his abilities and to each according to his needs.
I really liked this theory. So after I studied a secret document, the Malinist theory, it shows that the development of the society follows that trend, and I believed in it. And after 17 April, I saw the existence from correct the interpreter. After the 17 April, when I saw the evacuation of the people and the mass killing of the people, I really felt regretful for it. That was the time a slogan was established: the great movement, the great leap forward, the great movement, and the great masses. So in the Khmer, it says the great movement, the great leap forward, the great masses. I apologize. So let us keep it that way. Some people had a tendency to understand this slogan refers to the building of the economic of the country in a great leap forward fashion. the analyst would say the great leap forward of the economy was explained by Khieu Samphan, the state president. And I myself, I saw the light in those lines. I saw the lie in those lines. It means the words of Brother Ham was a lie. I saw the explanation of Khieu Samphan was a lie. In fact, what is the great leap forward? Pol Pot evacuated all the people from Phnom Penh city, smashed the former regime officials, smashed the capitalists, smashed the intellectuals. So what was remain? Only the peasant worker class remained. I would like to correct the translator. So, only the peasant worker class existed, and they were in a collectivity. That means collective workers and collective peasants. They had their team, group, companies, battalions, and they had their livelihood meetings, and they had their leadership. Now let me return to the question of Your Honor, and I would like to answer it to the point. Was I happy with the idealistic society created by Pol Pot? I would say that it was horrible because a lot of human lives lost, and in the end only two classes exist or remained. Now to conclude, if I look back into that society, what type of society it was? When I looked back, some Western analysts say that Pol Pot was a student of Mao Zedong. He was a follower of Mao Zedong. I would like to emphasize that It's Pol Potist, not Maoist. Pol Pot was a step to extend further of the four people of the Great Revolution of China. These four men group have one step forward, but Pol Pot had 10 steps forward. The four-man group, or the group of four. This group of four was in the Great Revolution of the Chinese history. It was a cultural revolution. I would like to emphasize that Pol Pot's theory was even crueler than the theory of this group of four. This is what I see when I look back. Talking about the time when I saw things at the time, it was speechless. Lots of people's lives were lost. I was shocked, but I couldn't say anything. It was beyond my speech. People started to disappear, even my superiors. And at that time, I did not even realize that half of my relatives or families were gone, were lost. I would like to emphasize that why I did not escape if I saw these terrible things. Where could I run to? To the west, to Thailand? Could I escape? No, I could not. If I ran to the east, I would confront the Vietnam. Could I escape? No, I would not. Even if they had conflicts, but whether they would trust me? I apologize that I had a long speech. To sum up, the idealistic society that I want is not the society idealistic to Pol Pot after the 1917 April. After the 17th April of 75, corrects the interpreter. The idealistic society that I truly want is a society that is based on the slogans that I just mentioned earlier. That is, from an individual based on their capacity, and the output returned to them based on the outcome of that individual. So I would just like to say it in Khmer. The society that I want is just a socialist society. It means it is based on an individual capacity and the return to that individual based on the outcome. This is my explanation, Your Honor.
Judge Lavergne, you have given us your analysis, and you said that you did so with hindsight. I want to return to the time when you were in charge of the responsibilities that have brought us here, and when you were charged with implementing the policy of the CPK.
The accused. When I was appointed as the chairman of S21, the political view, as I already mentioned earlier, but my duties have fallen into the crimes against humanity by way of killing. People were killed internally within the party itself. At the beginning, I started to have some fear and sympathy toward them. However, I could not escape, and I was compelled to go on. I started to feel extremely shocked on the 31st of January. (1977), when Son Sen arrested the forces from the cadres of the North Zone en masse. The North Zone. At that time, I was very shocked, and I thought to myself, that people who dedicated their lives for the nation and their people now ended up in being imprisoned in the names of people who betrayed the party. Having noted that, I was so shocked. I was rather coward. That I did not contest, but went on carrying their orders, and sometimes even exercised my capacity and my knowledge in order to make sure that I myself and the lives of my family could be out of danger. Therefore, I committed all kinds of crimes, serious crimes. In S21, no one is considered to have more crimes, committed more crimes than me. People who were not yet very determined regarding the class stance, I forced them and I encouraged them to have such a very absolute class stance. So I educated them, I trained them, and encouraged them to make sure they have the absolute class stance after all. I had been very loyal to the parties, and at the same time try to convince and educated other people, 10 to 20 other people, to be loyal to the party as I did. If we talk about loyalty, it is one thing, but if we talk about the class stance, then we know if it even affected our people and nation, but we had to do so to strengthen the class stance of the people. This is what I acknowledge, that this is the severe criminal commitments at the location when I was in charge. On top of that, I was the one who annotated on the confessions to the superior. People who could feel free or have freedom, then the documents themselves implicated them and spoiled them after all. Sooner or later, when there were complications in the confessions, more and more people would be brought in. It's just a matter of time. That is the part of the crimes committed at S21.